My girlfriend uninvited me on a week-long trip because her guy best friend is uncomfortable with me. Now she is freaking out because I am throwing away our relationship. My girlfriend wanted to vacation this summer to her mom's friend's house in Hawaii with me and her two best friends. We had been planning on this all spring, and at some point, a friend dropped out of the trip, leaving just the three of us. In early June, once the friend unexpectedly dropped out of the trip, Mike called my girlfriend and told her that now that it was just the three of us, he didn't feel comfortable with me going on the trip since he didn't know me that well and he didn't want to be a third wheel. He said he wouldn't go on the trip if I were to go. Without telling me that this was happening, they changed the plans and made it a trip just for the two of them, and they changed the location to a beach in Costa Rica. I was trying to figure out when to ask for time off this summer and hadn't heard the news about the plans, so I asked my girlfriend which week in August I should set aside for the Hawaii trip. She let me know that, actually, she had talked to her friend and that he didn't want to go if I were going, so she was going to go alone with him to Costa Rica. She said we could go another week later, maybe to Mexico City. I was upset and tried to talk with her about how the situation made me feel, especially since this wasn't a case of a separate trip being set up ahead of time. This was a case of me being invited and then uninvited from a week-long tropical vacation with a guy friend of hers who I had never met before. We eventually decided to make a trip together to Copenhagen, which we both wanted to visit as compensation. I also asked to meet him to feel more comfortable with the trip. We spent the 4th of July going to see him and his girlfriend in the city where they live. And although it was nice to put a face to a name, it was ultimately a very cold trip, and he was not at all welcoming to me. My girlfriend remarked on how unfriendly he was to both of us, she thought, and said she was surprised he didn't act warmly to me. I went out of my way to get to know him and his girlfriend, but it didn't click. Even after several days, they were somewhat cold to each other as well. They bickered a little about their future and his 3-week trip without her, scheduled for the same time as our trip. This had been my effort to feel better about the trip, so I told my girlfriend that I still didn't feel comfortable with things and was insulted by how it was handled. I had tried to make things smooth between us, and I asked her to please come up with something to help me feel better about the trip. On a visit to her family, they asked about the trip. They were all shocked that she would have arranged it this way. They told me they would have been furious if they were in my position, which triggered a fight in which I asked her to please help come up with a strategy to make me feel better and more secure about them going together without me. She said she would never do this kind of thing again, which feels like not much to offer since this is a once-in-a-lifetime trip. She kind of offered not to go on the trip, but she had already paid for the tickets and made arrangements, and I didn't want to stop their trip and be resented by both her and her best friend. She asked me to give her ideas of how to make me feel better and wanted me just to tell her what to do but stalled until it was finally the day of the trip. She bought me a bag of peanut butter cups, and I drove them to the airport. I feel so disregarded and disrespected in this situation. I want to break up with her, but don't want to burn up something that has otherwise been really good. Update: I was really upset the day I dropped her off, and she was texting me, but I wasn't responding. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I didn't want to do anything at all in the state I was in. I waited until the next day, and then I sent her a thought-out text letting her know that I didn't feel safe or loved in how the trip was handled and that I would be dropping her things off at her place and leaving her keys with a neighbor. She called but left no messages. She then messaged me that she didn't understand. She called and messaged me the rest of the week, but I couldn't pick up or text back. On Thursday, she realized I was serious and asked me logistical questions.